Welcome to the Occult Rejects. This episode, we got a very special guest, somebody I've been looking to get on this show for a minute now, and I was finally able to make it happen. But before we introduce the guest, let me introduce the other rejects on the show. We got my man, the Headless Giant. What is going on, sir? How are you?
How you doing? You can find me at the Headless Giant on Twitter and on YouTube and on Instagram as well. And if you have any occult / esoteric / strange dream / encounter stories, you can send them to my email at theheadlessgiantpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read those on Thursday, tomorrow, with my co-host Nick. And also, I've got the trilogues on Sunday with Ethan, so definitely check those out.
Awesome.
Thanks.
You still doing that with Ricardo too? Or?
Well, he's sort of going around the country right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
From conference to conference, so it's kind of hard for him to check in. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I forgot about that. All right, yeah, and definitely send in if you send in any stories, leave an address, and I'll send you out some free stickers. We were supposed to have a guest tomorrow, but I don't know. This crazy cat lady hasn't hit me back, so who the fuck knows? So, all right, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But definitely check it out. And next, my man Tyrone. What is going on, sir?
What's up, everybody? Yo, first of all, I gotta say, buy Headless Giants art. Go get your shit right now. Show that off right now. And Ethan's book, get his book, because I support both of them and what they do. Bennett, his podcast, yo, I love your background, bro. That shit is so tight, bro. I gotta set mine up better than that, bro. Your shit is really nice. And nice to meet you, Michael. I'm appreciative of being here today to get this knowledge from you. Thank you for everything. Nick, you the man. I always tell you that shit. You already know. Everything you can find on me is on my website, rebirthoftheword.com. Headless just showed you his pictures. I'm going to buy one when I go to the Fort Myers convention with Nick in Florida this in the next few days. So just support everybody. Everything you can find on me, like I said, is on my website, rebirthoftheword.com. I wrote a best-selling book, Journey Through the Origins of History. Please support that. Look, if you don't want to buy the book, just go to my website. I literally share damn near everything that I wrote in my book on my website. But eventually one day my website's not going to be there. So my book has an ISBN. So you'll always have a continued of knowledge. Thank you. I appreciate everything, Nick.
Nice, you got that ISBN. Great stuff. No, thank you, sir. And we got our man Ethan Indigo. What is going on?
Well, I'm rocking the Silent Rainbow edition of the Cult Rejects shirt. Appreciate you, Nick. You're the man, like Tyrone said. And yeah, definitely check out Tyrone's book. And Headless's paintings are incredible. And yeah, Bennett, big fan. Michael, I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, I'm easy to find on all the social media. And yeah, props. Peace to everyone.
Very glad you can make it, Ethan. I was happy to see you on today. And last but not least, before we get to the guests, we got Bennett. What is going on?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on, Nick. Headless, Tyrone, Ethan. Go check them out. Their stuff is great. Michael, huge fan. I got some questions for you.
Great.
So
I'm ready.
I appreciate it. Check me out at broadcastingseeds.com.
Awesome. I'm really glad. I was happy to know when two people were like, "Oh my god, I love that guy's stuff." I was like, "Oh great!" Like I'm actually giving you a guest you want to talk to. So I'm very happy about that. Real quick before we get to Michael though, because I'll forget and I'll mention it at the end, and everybody will shut it off by then. October 18th. Fort Myers, Charlie's Beyond Belief. Me and Tyrone will be there in Florida with a booth, and Brooke from Dark Florida and the Occult Rejects will be speaking at that event. And then the 25th and 26th, I will be at Arkansas, and I will have a booth there. It's a 2-day event at a museum, 2 levels, tons of shit going on, tons of stuff there. Definitely check out that one if you can. I will have Headless's art for sale, and I will have our T-shirts. So check it out. And Tyrone will be at one of them. He'll have the books, and if he wants to leave me any, I'll take some to Arkansas. So come and check us out. Finally, after all that, we got Michael Collins, Wandering Wolf Productions. What is going on, sir? Please let everybody know who the hell you are.
Well, first, thank you guys so much for having me here. By the way, you guys have some pretty sick swag there. I saw a coffee mug. I see a T-shirt. You guys got it going on, man.
The coffee mugs are actually those are gifts that I send out to the people on the show, but the shirts are available.
I love it. That's awesome. I'm Mike with Wandering Wolf Productions. I basically travel around the world filming ancient sites. I like to focus on sites that are maybe less known. I mean, all the big sites and stuff too, but I go to places that are maybe a little less known. I love getting out and adventuring around and stuff. I do have a conference coming up. I run tours too. The conference is December in Scottsdale. This is going to be a big one. We've got a stellar lineup. Jimmy Corsetti, AJ from the Y-Files, David Hatcher Childress, Gary Buechler from Nerdrotic, golly, Michael Button, Dan Richards, who you just had on.
Yes.
Bunch of big names. It's going to be an awesome event, and yours truly, I'll be there as well. So I hope to see everybody there. It's going to be an awesome event. Scottsdale, December 5th through the 7th. That's this December. So coming up quick. Got to grab your tickets because they're going fast. So, but we got good prices on those tickets. You can come for 3 days for $250.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah.
Well, they're tiered. So once those are gone, they're gone. So jump on them now. Yeah. And I'll drop the link to my website in the chat. So if people want to check that out, they can hit that. Go to the website. They can also see the events and different stuff that is like tours and stuff that are going on. And I got a book coming out too. So I got a book dropping in a few months here, probably before the end of the year.
That's awesome. Nice. Books are always great. Yeah, I know. I don't know if Mike and Dave, but I think Mike and Brittany from Mike and Dave's Multiverse are going to your show. They're going to that thing coming up, and they're already bugging me about going. So
yep. So it is. Give shout out to Mike and Dave's Multiverse.
I'll talk to you after the show. I really would like to see about a booth. So I'll talk to you about that. I want to talk about
perfect. Yeah, and let's talk after that because we could hook it up. We can hook something up.
Yeah. All right.
Figure it out.
Where was I going with this? I was going to ask you. All right. So what was it? I guess where did you start? Like, how was it? Like all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to start going out and looking at stuff. like when did that creep up in your head? Become a passion.
Yeah, man. I'll give you the kind of, I don't know, give you the PG version, I guess. If you guys want more, you can ask. I was working in sales.
I want the rated R version, bro.
Like the rated R. I was working in sales for like 12 years. I'm ex-military. I got out. I ended up in doing a sales job. I was just miserable. I'm not the kind of person that can just work for a paycheck. I need a purpose, right? So, and I was really at a low point in my life. I was pretty heavily addicted to drugs. This is in my early 30s, mid 30s. And I think, there's just something came over me that was like, what are you doing? I was looking at other people in my profession and that were older than me. And I was like, is this what you want? Is this where you're going? And I'd been into all, I was serving in the military during 9/11. So there was a lot of things that I was witness to behind the scene in terms of, the military, the government, how things work, what's really going on. They were pushing anthrax vaccines back then, all sorts of stuff. So it was like, version 1.
Are they trying to tell you you're going to be exposed to anthrax? That's why they want to give it to you? Like
what's that?
Were they trying to tell you might be exposed to anthrax? So that's why we want to give you this?
Yeah. So, and I was 2 weeks from getting out, and they were trying to make me do the anthrax vaccine.
Yo, let me ask you, Michael, how many shots did you get?
So when I joined in basic, I went down a hallway with like 6 nurses or something on both sides, just hitting me in both shoulder. Step up, next shoulder step. I don't even know what I was getting. And I was so young.
At least 20, bro.
Yeah.
At least 20.
And I was so young, I didn't even have the
you didn't have the knowledge to fight back again. And that's interesting that you brought that up because anthrax was a fucked up thing at that time, yo.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and by the time I was getting out, they were pushing that. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Just from the experience that we just talked about from when I joined. But yeah, getting a look behind the curtain was, how things run and how they, how things like the way the machine really works. And so, flash forward to again back in my 30s. I was at this really low point and I just kind of something came over me. It was like, you could just quit. You're miserable here. You could just quit and then you can't get any, things couldn't get any worse than where they were at for me. So
like you're starting
what did
over.
it-
It's like I'm not fucking.
what did it
up.
matter?
Fucked up
Yeah,
already.
what did it nothing mattered anymore. So I ended up quitting within 2 weeks. I was sober and I started traveling, and I ended up at Sacsayhuaman. And as soon as I went to that site and put my hands on those stones, I knew immediately that this is what I wanted to do. And I haven't stopped traveling since. I just made it work. I didn't know, I didn't have any experience. I'm still not good at what I do, is the filming and stuff. There's, but I just decided not to quit. And that's all I've been doing for 10 years now, is like not quitting.
Right.
I got a little better at some things, but
Never quit.
here we are.
Quit, bro. You leaving a mark on this planet. And I say this all the time, bro. I say this to so many people. You die twice on this planet. You die once when you're physically gone, when your body's no more. You die the second time when nobody mentions your name. So keep doing what you're doing, bro.
I appreciate that.
Way to stay a god.
Yeah, and so the last 10 years have just kind of taken me all over the world. I've anywhere and everywhere that I thought might interest me, I've just immediately just said yes to and gone. Things are getting a little more professional these days, I guess you would say, the last year or two.
Yeah, I could say just from listening to this show from the inception till now, you're like, what the fuck happened? It's totally different. Even I'm totally different. I mean, I guess just with age, I calmed down or something. I don't know, but
yeah,
I can see what you're saying. Like, I've even tried to step up and try to, figure out the fucking shit I'm actually using.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll actually watch some tutorials on my equipment at this point.
There you go. Yeah.
Be an actual adult about it, right?
Yeah. So like, maybe I'll actually read
it.
the instructions before I put the table together.
Yeah.
It's leveling up in life, bro. You leveling up. You know, if you're the same person when you was 20 years old, then you got a fucking problem.
Yeah, bro.
Right.
Holy hell.
They say that too. If you get into occultism or like witchcraft and magic, if your thinking and beliefs are the same way at the beginning to where you are now, you're doing fucking something wrong. Because that shit should always be evolving and changing or growing at least. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess, Michael, if you don't mind, unless anybody else has any questions right now, I'm just wanted to ask you, I guess, which spot was the one that popped your cherry? Where you went for, I guess, your first spot to kind of get into all this.
Peru, Sacsayhuaman was that first spot that I hit. And then, when I was there, I did Machu Picchu and, all the main stuff there in Peru. And then after that, it was just kind of a whirlwind for several years of just traveling anywhere and everywhere. It'd take the whole time for me to tell you all the places. I mean, at this point, it's hundreds and hundreds of ancient sites that I've visited around the world. I think I'm somewhere. The channel logo says 200, but I think when I sit down and count it, I think I'm over 350 plus ancient sites visited. I don't know anymore. I'd have to sit down and look at it. So it's been all over the world, and
God damn,
it's been fascinating. That's given me a perspective on, kind of this perspective on these sites, and the idea of them, a lot of these things being interconnected from all the different types of similarities, not even similarities, sometimes exact, types of constructions and stoneworking and everything from mythology and legend and folklore and to ancient works and stoneworking and styles and stuff, symbolism and everything. It's given me quite a look behind. In fact, and then that is also kind of, especially over the last year, given me a perspective similar to what I described about being in the Army, getting a look behind the curtain of how these sites are managed and reconstructed around the world, which has been this year's been interesting more than any other year. This year has really kind of, honestly, it was a little bit of a blow. It was a little depressing and discouraging for a bit once I realized the extent of the processes involved in reconstructing sites around the world. And I kind of had to sit with that for months and months to like kind of find my passion again and not be so bummed out about it. I went over to Turkey with Jimmy, exposed all the trees and different stuff over there, and that was big news for a while, and that put me in the crosshairs of the archaeological community, and it kind of made me double down and start exposing more. I put out a video exposing archaeology, or Archaeology Exposed, and that video is basically, I took shots from the last 10 years of me traveling around the world, just showing these examples of some of the bad practices going on, that are just like the stoneworking and things. These ancient stoneworkings are very similar. Also, the way these sites are being managed and handled and reconstructed are also similar. So, you see the same type of things going on in Turkey that you do in Central and South America.
Michael, all of these NGOs seem really interested in taking control over these sites, especially at Göbekli Tepe and other places. It seems like they're trying to make this sort of entertainment industry out of these sites.
Oh yeah,
actually doing any kind of digging or explanation of any of this stuff.
And that's the depressing part. It's big business. So heritage tourism right now sits at somewhere, which is what this is, sits at somewhere over $500 billion, right? That's projected to grow in the next, by 2031, 32, that's expected to be somewhere up close to 800 billion. And in less than 10 years, it'll be $1 trillion a year industry. So, when these archaeologists and different people argue and say that the powers that be that are running all these sites always have the best interest of the site in mind in terms of history, discovery, and it's just bullshit. It's comical. I can't even take that type of argument seriously. We're talking about an insane amount of money, an absolutely insane amount of money. This is a bigger industry than that puts it in one of the top industries in the entire world is heritage tourism. So it's big money, and places are regularly faked, built up, and it's
all of the pyramids in Mexico.
Man, that it really sucks to because I love Central and South America and I love visiting these sites, but yeah, Teotihuacan, that's a pile of concrete. It's completely covered in concrete. That's all concrete. Chichen Itza, that's concrete. All these sites. I just was in Guatemala at Tikal. They're completely on site rebuilding stones that they're making out of concrete and reshaping these pyramids. So they're not excavating the pyramids. They're just covering them in concrete. Concrete blocks, concrete stones. They leave trees in them. So they build around them. And so it look after a year, all that concrete and those stones and stuff, sometimes they're shaping them with lime, making limestone. But they'll leave the trees in them, so in a year those stones won't be white anymore. They'll be all dirty and overgrown with moss and stuff, and they'll look old. And then you have trees sticking out of them. The average person can't tell the difference.
Right. May I ask you a question, Michael?
Yeah.
You brought up Göbekli Tepe, and that's very interesting. You brought up Jimmy Corsetti and the idea of the trees and what it's destroying underneath and stuff like that. Do you think that Jimmy Corsetti could use a little bit more help and representation to get this shit fixed and resolved rather than being solo? Because the reason, and one of the reasons why I asked that is because you enunciated the amount of money that it takes for people to do stuff like this. Now, Jimmy Corsetti is only one person. You're only one person. That's two people. If we have a group of individuals that work together, do you think that it would be more prominent for these individuals to take us serious when the idea of a destruction from Göbekli Tepe? Or do you think that these individuals are only waiting for somebody with big money to sit there and step on their toes and be like, look, you need to fix this shit today?
It's tough. I don't know how you go to head to head with, multinational corporations and stuff that are running this stuff. I think Jimmy's a one-man army. He's fucking rocking it, dude. And he's holding them people account. And he's been going hard for the last month or two since Dr. Lee Clare got back online on Twitter. So, Jimmy's pressure got those trees removed. He was able to enact change. We showed up the day that they removed those trees, which is we had no idea.
Yeah, pressure bust pipes, bro. He did that shit. Like that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm specifically asking. If we had more, you can't have a one-man army. Okay, there's no way you can have a one-man army. Not one person can change anything, but one person can bring ideas to other individuals that can help change things, right? So my next question is, who do you think that is next to Jimmy Corsetti that would be able to bring the representation of history and knowledge to the people, rather than sitting here being, hey, I'm arguing with one-on-one person. Somebody has millions and billions of dollars. Somebody has a couple of $1 million. The person with the billions of dollars can shut that motherfucker down quick, right? So we have to understand that when we bring people back together, one thing that I like about Nick is that he has a group of individuals with specialties, okay? There's not just one person that can say that they know something. There's numerous individuals that can say something and bring the representation of knowledge to the forefront of individuals. How can we accomplish that if we only assuming that one person is a one-man army?
I think people, if people feel passionate enough about something like Göbekli Tepe, they need to get involved and be vocal like Jimmy's doing. And he is making changes. He got the trees removed by pressure. When you have you got to remember, someone like Jimmy, who has almost 2 million followers, is like enacting, he's mobilizing his following. And he did that to get those trees removed and put public pressure. And really, you made a great point. When somebody has more money, it's hard to combat that when you don't have the money. And the way to combat that is basically, Jimmy's writing the blueprint for that. It's taking your followers and mobilizing your support to put public pressure on, because companies like the Dozier Group don't want people looking at them. People look, it's not Lee Clare that, he's the guy running the site, right? And representing all that, but who's really pulling the strings over there? It's the people that have
exactly
the company and these companies that have invested millions of dollars to have rights to manage the site, and they don't want to be in the spotlight. They don't want to be in the spotlight, and the Turkish government doesn't want to be in the spotlight.
And that's part of my problem, Michael, is that you have people on the outside of the box putting money in to people who they believe is a representation of their narrative. Okay, everybody has a narrative. When we pick up a book, if all 6 of us right now picked up a book, I guarantee you, if we had a discussion after we read that book, we will all have different narratives.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what evidence and facts can you provide from that book that backs up your narrative? And that's the problem. Everybody can pick a piece of the puzzle and say, hey, yo, I'm backing up my narrative because of this, that, and the third. And then when you bring this, that, and the third, somebody else has to bring this, that, and the third to the table. So that's why I'm asking. Oh, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Cook with me.
The supreme irony in all of this is that it's a win-win situation, totally win-win. The more Jimmy Corsetti brings eyes on this case, the more people want to visit Göbekli Tepe, and the more study they do and the more findings they get out of that place, the more people are wanting to visit Göbekli Tepe. That's the thing that gets me, is like, this is so anti-business what they're engaging in. It's almost laughable, but it seems like it's that way on every level now on these corporate hierarchies. It's just they don't really care about money as long as they can, take a little off the top and retire to whatever home they're in. They don't care about these sites. It really is up to us to not only get the attention back on this, because there was a lot of pressure and a lot of attention for a couple of weeks. It felt like that was something we could win. And so a lot of people got on board with it. I think that's the real, kicker here is we could all be winning from this if they just, had a little bit more, respect for the consumers.
Yeah, and look, I'm not against tourism. I'm not against heritage tourism. I'm not against tourism to ancient sites and visiting these sites. I just, I think that there's not there's a lot of places that are doing good things. And I'm not trying to shit on every archaeologist out there either. I think that, I just think, if we're staying on the topic of Göbekli Tepe, I think that there was just a lot of kind of, things going wrong there that needed to be addressed. And they started getting addressed, and it looks like something like the spotlight is on that place now. And that's what we wanted, right? And I think that's what was needed. There's people on both sides now daily talking about Göbekli Tepe, and that makes it a lot harder for shady shit to go down. And so hopefully that can change, the way things, hopefully that affects things that are happening there on a day-to-day basis.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry, y'all. I have a lot of questions for Michael. Like Bennett, you got to jump in, bro, because this man, hey, I love Göbekli Tepe.
Well, I know it's, and I don't want to, because I'm going to shift him from Göbekli Tepe.
Oh, you want to shift him? Okay. Okay, so this will probably be my last question about Göbekli Tepe, unless you bring something else that strikes my curiosity. It's interesting because of the simple fact that we have Göbekli Tepe seemingly goes back before the beginning of the civilization of the Sumerians, right? Most people understand that the Sumerians are considered the first civilization on this planet because of their writing system. Now, writing system started because of pictographic script. Okay? We have, this is the same thing with hieroglyphics, emojis, or whatever the hell you want to call it. A picture was a way to communicate to people in the world. Now, when we get to Göbekli Tepe, on these pillars, they have so many depictions of so many different things. Okay, it's not until you realize what these symbols mean that you can understand what the basic knowledge of what it is. So when it comes to agriculture, we know that cows are an agricultural necessity, oxen, bulls, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? These are the same creatures, species that create a mushroom when they shit in the ground. And, they create this psychedelic mushroom that the government has now just recently, not recently, but, in the years when they found out, I can't remember the exact year, that when these cows shit, they produce this psychedelic mushroom. Now that this federal government now injects them with a vaccine that keeps them from providing that type of thing, an enzyme in their stomach or whatever that creates this mushroom. When people from Göbekli Tepe, when I've heard individuals, they say that these individuals came from a nomadic tribe or, hunters and gatherers, and they eventually decided to, create a structure like Göbekli Tepe. The thing is that we don't exactly know what the writing system means on those pillars. And until we figure out those writings, then, we get more knowledge on it. But the thing is that I want to point out is that Aboriginal Australians have the same symbolism as the individuals in Göbekli Tepe in some of their pillars. So now you got the Aboriginal Australians going back 50, 60,000 years ago. You got Göbekli Tepe going back 12,000 years ago. You got the African continent that seems to have, some people would say, like the Nata Playa or the Inky calendar or Adam's calendar, that's a type of, Stonehenge or something like that. When we look at the history of people, it's obvious that people didn't start in just one central location. They started in many different locations and began to represent themselves through what we know as knowledge. A bull, a cow, an oxen is all around the world. Anything that's strong to be able to pull a plow to create agriculture, that's their representation of so-called God. That's why when you look at the ancient Hebrew text, you see the bull with the horns. That's that first, representation of their God. So I want to ask you something. When it comes to Göbekli Tepe, what is the most profound evidence that you found that there's a civilization that preceded before any civilization on this planet. And what I mean by civilization, and I need you to explain it, what is your understanding of civilization before you get in depth of Göbekli Tepe being older?
You know, I don't, that Göbekli Tepe and that whole region, the Taz Tepler region is, you know, because there's sites that are there that are older than Göbekli Tepe. You know, this is, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to,
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, I don't, you know, my thoughts on Göbekli Tepe and its importance is that it's hugely important. You pointed out a lot of connections around the, I mean, I feel like every ancient site is basically connected to some other ancient site that it shouldn't be by time and symbols and construction and examples and things like that. You know, Göbekli Tepe is a perfect example, and we just have a fraction of the pillars with those carvings and stuff excavated. I mean, I think the site is only at like 5%. If you want to see somebody who's doing really good work on this, Archaic Lens is like crushing it right now. He is going hard on connecting these symbols to other sites around the world. So some that you didn't mention would be Easter Island and the bird with the sun, or the symbol, you know, holding the, and that symbol also being found at Göbekli Tepe. There's a lot of connections that he's been making lately that I've been really enjoying watching, and I think he needs to get quite a bit more eyes on him and credit for his work. And I love his stuff. But yeah, you know, it's hard to say. There's hundreds more pillars that we know are at Göbekli Tepe, and you know, so we have a fraction of the site excavated, giving us information about our history or prehistory.
Well, isn't the site kind of an archipelago? So you've got like other tepes or other hills that they know have these pillars inside of them that they haven't even unearthed or you know, scavenged yet. So it's so much more richer than people even know, and yet they've barely scratched the surface.
Could be a wealth of knowledge that would, you know, reveal a lot to us. And I think, you know, where I kind of come into all this in terms of contributing is a bit more of what I kind of explained earlier about traveling around the world and seeing these different interconnections. If you know, breaking certain stuff down and getting in depth into like details of historical sites and information, you know, there's going to be some better people out there for that. What I can say is that what I see happening around the world is that we've developed basically this system of excavating these ancient sites up to maybe 5 to 20% at most, right? Most of these sites never get excavated at anywhere beyond 20%. On average, I think worldwide, it's like 20% that sites usually get excavated to. And so we've built this entire understanding of our history on what? Up to an absolute
fragments
of what's available to us and what could be available to us.
Right.
So I think the answer is we don't know. And that's what people in our positions that are interested in all this are upset about, especially when you start getting into stuff like Göbekli Tepe and they're putting out information like, we're not going to excavate for 150 years. We're not going to fully excavate this site. I mean, the head archaeologist of the site has said that out loud, that he's not going to excavate that site. He has no plans or intention to do that. So how are we supposed to build any kind of with just the fraction that we have? We're already making connections all over the place.
You know, Michael, we can start by learning what the pillars symbolize. Basically, we can hurt him by understanding what's already available to us. You know, we have information that's already available. People wrote books, you know, 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, you know, from the beginning, go back to Tepe and all this other stuff. but we can figure it out. We just have to work together, and that's the problem. People don't want to work together. A lot of people want to make money for themselves and be rich and be known for what they've done, rather than bringing the honesty of what our history is. And that's what I like to do. I'm a veteran just like you. I was wounded in combat, and when I was in the military, I took what I did serious. You know what I'm saying? Because it was life over death. And I actually experienced that. I'm a Purple Heart veteran, so I know what life after death is. I know what it is to be killed in action and come back to life. But
awesome,
my passion start. You say what?
Feels awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels awesome to be able to share what I've learned. Exactly. It's a feeling that people don't really understand. And I'll tell you straight up, Michael, Jimmy Corsetti, and any individual, Nick, Headless, Bennett, Ethan, Brooke, you know, all these people that we know from everywhere that had these discussions, they're trying to share something that from what they've learned. Too many people are trying to share what they think is right rather than what they've learned.
Very true.
Amen.
Michael, if you don't mind, you had mentioned earlier that you had seen common things popping up at different spots.
Yes.
I would like if maybe we could revisit that, because I found that very interesting. There was something else I wanted to talk about, but since you brought that up, I wanted to get to that. Not to put you on the spot, but if there's any examples that you could give us, I would like that. If there's maybe symbolism or even architecture that was just like, how did that get there? You know
yeah, I think symbolism is a great one to start with. We just listed a bunch of examples there with Göbekli Tepe and its connections to other sites around the world. But then you start getting into things like nubs, scoop marks, pinch holes, the key lock things. They're between stones. And
that's interesting. What do you think that's about? The key lock?
Those are, I think, designed to keep the stones stable together, right? Like, I've seen those everywhere, from China to South America to, everywhere, literally everywhere.
I thought there was a certain order that might have used that in their architecture. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and you see different styles, but they're very, they're found all over the place.
Did the Templars do that in their stuff? They put keyholes?
You asking me? I don't know.
Not that I remember.
All right, no, I'm probably totally wrong. It's just I remember seeing something where I thought they were able to figure out that how old it was, and it predated what they thought it was older because of the keyhole symbol that matched something. I could be wrong. It even showed that people were here prior to Columbus. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not a keyhole, something close to that. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, even the style of pyramids, it does make sense if you're going to build a pyramid to do step pyramids, right? But then, if you take out the outer cover, even in places like Egypt, you have examples of what look like step pyramids, which always kind of made me wonder if a lot of these other pyramids that we found all over the world used to have casing on the outside where they would have been smooth at some point, and it was removed or deteriorated, because
they think that happened over in Egypt as well, right, on the pyramids.
But Egypt's an interesting example because being in the desert, you have a lot of these other places like Cambodia, for example. I mean, you leave a site like that alone, like if a site in Cambodia was abandoned, within 10 years, it would be completely overrun with trees and vegetation that would just damage it and destroy the exterior of like a pyramid or something. All sorts of stuff that doesn't happen in Egypt there in the desert.
Angkor Wat, they believe to be, a myth until the 1890s or something like that. So, they just found it in the middle of the jungle. It was completely overtaken.
Yeah.
The whole last city temple complex.
That's an incredible site. I mean, I think Cambodia is the only place that I've ever been to where I was like, I had to take a break from visiting sites. It was so much. I mean, you can just I did visit sites all day long, every day for like almost 2 weeks. I think it was just, I think at the end of it, I was just like, yo, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I need a break. I gotta just sit down. We're just like, I'm overdone with temples. They're always temples, right? They're always, but anyways, yeah, Cambodia is it's just a jungle full of ancient sites. It's amazing.
You again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. It's just maybe something maybe that I would remember. Like, do you remember like your first time being like, "Fuck, I've seen this before somewhere." You know what I'm saying? Like when it really started to click, I was like, "Whoa, maybe I should really start paying attention to more stuff." Like, or already looking to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I'm thinking if I just stumbled upon and realizing that, I'd be like, "Oh shit." Okay,
I was already watching videos and stuff deep down the YouTube rabbit hole, right? So I was familiar with the similarities and stuff around the world. And when I started, I was looking for those things everywhere I went. The things that I was really paying attention to was nubs and scoop marks and drill holes and machining marks and things like that. So I was looking for those things. I think one of the things that was like this isn't exactly what you asked, but it was an aha moment for me was I went to CPAC. I don't know, that was like 4 years ago now, I think, maybe 5. And Ben from
CPAC, you don't mind me asking, what is that?
CPAC was a conference.
Okay.
And Ben from Uncharted X gave a presentation there that just kind of blew my mind. He did a presentation on the bases. And this is when he really started getting it. I mean, he'd already been into it, but I hadn't really heard of it before. And I sat through his presentation on the bases, and it blew my mind because I had been visiting museums all over the world. When I go somewhere, I'll go to the museum there too. But I would just walk past all the stuff that was like pottery and things and different stuff. I was really interested in the megaliths and these massive sites and things. And I was walking by some of the coolest shit that exists on the planet, and I had no idea because I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so when I, heard that presentation by Ben, it was so good. He's so good at communicating information and details. It was really eye-opening. I was sitting there in the audience, and it was just this aha moment of like connecting in my head all the places that I'd been around the world. And being like, I walked past that. I had filmed that. I've looked at that. And I didn't even pay it attention. I was just like pointing at the camera, filmed it, and like moved on. And here he is describing just how, the detail involved in some of these pieces. And that was a big aha moment for me in the last handful of years.
So like
to slow down and really take my time with stuff.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you brought up Sacsayhuaman earlier, and like that was your big shift, right?
Yeah.
Visiting over 200, 300 sites, right? If you had to pick one that really is like one of those places you think it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal on the world stage, like it's kind of being ignored maybe, or even suppressed. Do you have a place like that you think, other than like what we've talked about already?
Yeah. I think Peru has a million more secrets to reveal. I think that Peru is known for places like Machu Picchu and Sacsayhuaman, but there's an entire I drove the highway from Lima all the way down to Nazca and to do the Nazca lines, and on the way was just looking out. I got the ocean on my left, driving back from the Nazca lines to Lima, and I've got farmland and kind of overrun deserty looking land and stuff. And there's just pyramids.
Yeah.
There's pyramids. They're clearly pyramids.
Wild. It's so wild.
And there's houses on them and shacks, or they're actively being like demolished to like raise them down to a level that could be used for farmland. I think that Peru has so many more secrets to reveal, and I think it has a bigger story in our our historical past than it's being credited with right now, and I think all that's going to come out in the future. The other thing that I think is going to blow up in the coming years, and I've been saying this for years, is America. I think that people are not looking at America. And
when you say America, do you mean the United States or just like
North
America?
North America. Yeah. I think that there's things to be found here but nobody looks here. Everybody looks elsewhere, right?
I look here. There's a whole bunch of us that do look here.
Yeah. You know what?
Go ahead.
Too, just real quick too is and something I've looked at due to occultists, and you would probably even notice this too, Bennett. At some point, it was like prior to Laurel Canyon times, you had a fuck ton of occultists all running down to Mexico.
I remember.
Even Charles Manson was trying to go there.
Yeah,
I do think that there's something down there too that they're very interested in. You know,
Crowley,
what do you because I know you've been there. Actually, the video that I guess it was 2 years ago, probably, that I saw you. The first video I ever saw you doing was at the Sage Wall. And I work for Montana State University. I go to Bozeman quite a bit. I live in New York, but I work in Montana remotely.
That's quite a commute.
A little bit, right? So I go there a few times a year, and I haven't been to the Sage Wall yet, but I'm gonna have the opportunity this coming year.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on places like that? I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy about whether it's about what the Sage Wall means or what it is, or is it natural? Is it, whatever? And besides the point, it gets people gets their minds going and peaked, right?
Yeah.
So when you say America, that goes right along with that type of stuff. Is what other sites are there besides like the Sage Wall, things like that?
Yeah, sure. Sage Wall, I've been going up there now for the last 4 or 5 years every year. I was just up there again this year. And they literally in the last few weeks just released years of research on their website. They open sourced it. It's available right now.
Okay.
People can go to sagemountainCenter.org and look at all of this. This is LiDAR, professional LiDAR work done, ground penetrating radar. They've released the analysis of I think they did stone analysis on the wall. They've done a lot of stuff, and they've released all of it. So it's all available to the public on their website. You can go look at it, play around with it. If you're a numbers and person guy, you're going to get in. You're going to nerd out for a while. It's great.
Mounds everywhere.
Yeah.
And
get me
honestly,
started.
Sage Wall is such an anomaly. It's the work being done there. It feels like how things should be done. Like and ultimately, I don't think it really matters because it matters. Don't get me wrong, but the information that they're getting is beneficial either way. Whether that's something that's man-made or something that is completely natural. Now, the explanations for that site that have always people try to throw at me who disagree with it being man-made. And by the way, I've never come down on one side saying it's for sure this or for sure that. But I think that it's worth continuing to investigate and ask the questions. And but people always like to say that it's a volcanic dike, or you're like a dike.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of dikes. It doesn't look anything like a dike. I mean, these are blocks. And I think somebody else did like a debunking video that was like a thing.
Timothy Alberino did one.
So he did.
He's done a few. He's done a few.
And the backside,
and not necessarily debunking, but here's what people are saying is
right.
That's what his video says.
But what he was saying was the backside was going into the hill. It doesn't. So they finally excavated it, and I went up there and we filmed it. The backside is blocked, like the front. So
there you go.
They're going to excavate. They're just doing it a layer at a time, which is great because if they just started digging and there are things that
bringing in the backhoes.
Yeah, if there are artifacts and stuff down there, those are things that can help make the case, right? So they are taking it slow, and it is slower than normal because they're funding everything. This is their home.
Yeah,
they've
private,
opened up to the public,
which is huge,
to allow people to come up there and visit. And so it's taken over their life. They had another business that they had to quit doing to allow people on site and do this full time. So when people bitch about the price for entry, it's like they're letting you into their home and they've had to change their entire lives to make this happen. So it's available for people to go see. And I personally, feel like my experience walking up to Sage Wall the first time was very similar to walking up to Sacsay-Waman. It's jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
It's crazy walking up on that thing. I've shot tons of video, tons of drone footage, and I can't film that place in any way that does it justice in terms of just how impressive it is to see in person.
Yeah.
If I may, how y'all doing? I love this conversation because it's bringing a lot of stuff that I've learned in the past. You mentioned the Americas, and everybody in here knows about the Americas. The pyramids in Peru are older than the pyramids in Egypt, or at least that's what some people say. So now the idea is that a lot of people, like you mentioned, there's a lot of stuff in our backyard. I just recently created a Rumble account where I go to different museums all around the world. Okay, I just started here in America, but I'm of course going to expand my knowledge, of course, and go to different countries and so on and so forth. But I've been to North Carolina twice, twice with Nick, actually, the Cosmic Summit and then the Bigfoot thing. I actually went to the mound that I was telling Nick about when we was up there. I went there after before I left. And I can tell you what I understand is that these mounds were used and built by natural elements on planet Earth. Okay, no difference than Egypt and so on and so forth when you take the, the granite, the limestone and whatever, right? But what's interesting to me is that every research that I've done about Egypt, it seems to lead to us here in Americas. Literally, the Grand Canyon, there's ideas and articles and newspapers saying that they found Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon. There are individuals that say that they found pyramids under the Mississippi River. Okay, Mississippi River pyramids. Okay, they also said they found pyramids in the Bermuda and all those old locations in Florida and so on and so forth. Now my question is, I love that cat headless. I got to get me a cat, bro. But anyway, what is interesting to me is that there's this idea that humans started in Africa. Okay, now I have a map right behind. Okay, you got Africa right here, over here. And if you go right across where they believed individuals first started in the central of Africa, why couldn't people start it right here at the same time, simultaneously, at the exact same time in South America? Why is it so hard to believe that we could have had individuals, humans, what we call humans, because the same way I identify as civilizations, everybody has this idea of what a human is. Why can't we have humans started in the Americas over here at the same time that individuals started over here? Haplogroups, genetic DNA, all this shows that there's been individuals from here. Look, and then you go right here where Australia is at. You know what I'm saying? 50, 60,000 years before any civilization over here. Then you have individuals starting here from the anthropologists, from the bone fragments and all this. But then you have right here. And in this area right here, this is where we find the oldest civilizations for all of the Americas. So my question is to you, what do you consider a civilization?
I think the agriculture is a big part of it. Being stationary, building community. I mean, what I was talking about earlier with Peru having tons of secrets to still reveal. I don't think it's just Peru. I mean, I think the whole Amazon. I mean, we know that, like, I mean, I think that there's this idea that the entire Amazon is basically was like a created soil from ancient people, right? Is anybody familiar with that? What is it? I can't remember the term for that soil.
I know
the
what
Black
LiDAR
soil.
scans,
Yeah.
no. Well, the LiDAR scans on it have shown that there are ancient waterways that have been filled in by the jungle. So that if it was irrigated at some point, it was farmland. So
are you talking about Terra Preta?
Yeah, Terra Preta. Yeah, but that's basically all of the Amazon.
Yeah, like it's a loosely made ecosystem by a human, right?
Right.
With the Terra Preta, right?
Yeah.
Like a wild garden.
Yeah. And something happened, and so it just that all disappeared. I think South America has so much more to reveal, and I'm not sold on the out of Africa theory. I'm not stuck with this idea that civilization
started in one place, right?
Started in one place, spread.
I don't agree with that shit either, and I have African blood in me, bro. I don't believe that shit either. I seriously don't. And the whole reason why is because there's been plenty of species on this planet before Homo sapiens sapiens. Okay, and with that understanding, there's no doubt in my mind that a group of individuals could have started in two places at once. Two things can be right at once. You can have two facts with two lies. You just have to decipher what is the facts and what are the lies.
So
that's why I respect you so much, Michael. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate that. I want to put you guys on a let me copy this and drop it in the chat. There's a young man doing really good work right now up in Michigan in the UP. And I just dropped his YouTube channel in the chat. He is, we met on one of my tours, actually my tour to Peru. He's coming with me to Egypt next month too. And he started a YouTube channel. He invited me up there. I did a video on the Q in the wall, and he's been exploring, looking in mounds and stuff up there. There's the whole thing up in the UP, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, on the mound cultures, copper mining, connection with the Phoenicians coming over and mining, and tying into this whole lack of mining sites or available copper for the amount of copper that was used in the past over in Europe, right? And everywhere. So he's been digging into a lot of that and dropping a lot of stuff. And I think that's really interesting in exploring that idea that there was a lot of, that there was stuff going on between continents way before we're is being accepted in regular history books, right? And I love what he's doing up there. I think it's good stuff. But maybe they ended up, maybe there was stuff going on in America and South America. But yeah, I'm not, some of these cultures, and if you go back, if we're going back 10,000+ years, and we're talking about, it's always blown my mind that we think that these cultures are capable of doing these incredible megalithic works, but they couldn't build a boat and sail across the ocean.
Right. It's insane.
They can align these structures to pinpoint precision, almost alignment with cardinal directions and all sorts of stuff, but they couldn't navigate a boat across the ocean. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's like, I don't know, I don't know.
Before I ask you some other stuff, Ethan, not to put you on the spot, but I don't think you've actually really got to ask or really say much. Was there anything you did want to ask?
Well, I was going to say that's a really great contrast or comparison to the ability to travel the ocean as opposed to megalithic creations, because we can travel the seas now, but we can't recreate what they've done. I wanted to actually ask Nick, you kind of touched on something I wanted to ask about the similarities and the consistencies. I was going to ask about, you mentioned how in modernity there were several consistencies that you saw in the kind of bumbling recreation or kind of surfacing, making it look neat for their tourist things. Do you think there is just the intention to make more money, or is there something else? Do you think there's another reason for why they seem to all be doing the same format?
Was that? I'm sorry. Was that for me? I thought you said Nick.
No. I know. I was asking you if
I'm
there
so
was.
sorry. I
don't be
thought you were asking Nick a question. I swear I thought I heard you say Nick's name.
Yeah, no, it's because something I said that he wanted to ask a question.
All right. I hate to do that, man. Please tell me again.
No, that's okay. I was. You mentioned how there were the consistencies in the resurfacing in modernity, as well as the consistencies in the creation and construction in the ancient times. Do you think their reasoning is merely for tourist dollars to make it more clean of a surface, or is there some other reasoning that they have for all?
You mean the consistency in like how they're rebuilding these sites?
Yeah. Is it just a financial?
Yeah, I think it speaks to a bigger picture umbrella of control, or whatever. Like, ultimately, when you get to the top of the food chain, there's just like a few companies running everything, a few businesses or whatever, right? So when I go around the world and I see it's always the same roofs. It's always the same roofing systems. It's the same style. When they really start pumping money into these places, they look the same. Now, maybe there's similarity because, they're seeing how they're doing it over here and they're like, well, we can do that and make it look cool too. I don't know, but what I see from how they reconstruct sites behind the scenes where people don't see, because I've gotten access to places where the general public isn't allowed, in Egypt, in Belize, in Guatemala, in Turkey, in Lebanon. I've been given access behind the scenes and had a look at how they're doing stuff, and it seems like it's always the same. So, when you start chasing the dollars, I think you start getting answers. You start looking at who's funding this ultimately, right? Like, because for example, with Turkey, it's not the Turkish government. They signed the site over to the Dojos Group. It's a multinational corporation that does stuff that handles this specific type of work all over the world. And this isn't just reconstruction. This also goes into destroying sites. So this ties into stuff like with companies like Rio Tinto, which is a mining company based out of the UK. It's a multinational company. They've destroyed hundreds of sites in Australia, and they've now been granted mining rights by Montana for mining in Montana. And now there's black helicopters and stuff flying over Sage Wall. And they have plans for some of these areas where, even if I don't necessarily agree on a specific location, I think it's a natural formation. People are looking into it. Well, all of a sudden, these areas are being looked at for mining and destruction, or they're building highways through stuff or roads. So you have everything from reconstruction to the same companies around the world showing up at ancient sites for things like mining and different stuff like that. So it's when you start chasing the money, it seems like it always kind of comes back to a lot of the same companies all around the world. So if that's the case, it would make sense that a lot of these places look exactly the same.
Hey, when you said that money, bro, hey, seriously, I've read so many books from Masons, from Alan Part to Godfrey Higgins to everybody in between, Albert Churchward and all these individuals. And I can tell you that these Masons, these individuals who worked with stones, was definitely traveling around the world. These are individuals that had technology and intelligence to the point that it seemed extraterrestrial, but it was really interterrestrial. These are the people that worked on stuff from the beginning of time. If you look at today with our structures, look at the houses of today, $400 million houses. And you go on TikTok and you watch how they do these inspection on these houses. These houses are fucking crazy built wrong. Like, you have holes in places that shouldn't be having holes. You have wood and nails that's not all the way put into place and stuff like that. But then you go back to 1990s and look in 1950s and look at the houses that were built back then, and them shits ain't breaking down at all, right? And it makes you think, are we really losing our technology, or are we just being cheap and just building shit cheaply? Like, what the fuck? It will cost billions and billions and billions of dollars to build the pyramids in Egypt right now. But we know right now, with the technology that we have that is available to us right now in Memphis, Tennessee, they have a Bass Pro Shop that's in the shape of a pyramid. That's in modern times, which is one of the biggest pyramids in the world. Go look up the pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee, the Bass Pro Shop. I'm a fisherman, so I know a lot about Bass Pro Shop, right? If you look at it, they have a pyramid in Tennessee that literally is one of the biggest pyramids in the world, next to the pyramid in Egypt, but they're using modern period times of technology to build that with steel beams, bricks, and so on and so forth, drywall and all that. So my question is, if we was to use all these stones, that would cost millions and billions and trillions of dollars. But if we use drywall and, you know, cheap ass plastic, that billions and billions of dollars would come down to what? Maybe $100,000. And then they go sell that same house to you to about $500,000. So I really believe when people say, did we lose that technology? No, we ain't lose that technology. We just found the cheaper way how to do shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would rather buy a house from the 1970s or 80s than a new home. Personally, if I have the money to kind of fix it up, I travel so much, getting a house would be ridiculous. I mean, I did that, and it was like my grass was perpetually up to here. Every time I'd come home, it was like, oh my God, it was just too much upkeep. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It just, I don't know. It's not just that either. We also don't create anything of beauty anymore. You know, our 100%. Architecture and design and stuff is so soul crushing. It's like there isn't any.
There's no soul, bro. There's no soul to this shit
anymore.
When you look at a house today, you can ride through any neighborhood that's been newly constructed and see that there's no soul. You go back to the 1950s of the subdivisions of those houses, you're going to see a whole bunch of soul. You're going to see a whole bunch of modifications, a whole bunch of different ideas and theories. And, you know, that's why I hate HOA. I don't live in an HOA, but I can tell you, when you talk about the pyramids, when you talk about Göbekli Tepe, when you talk about the artistic views of what we've seen and what we've done, these churches nowadays are put up as one. You know, most of these churches they don't have a soul to it where it attracts you to it, whether it's just the way it looks. Because, you know, I'm 41 years old. I was always told, don't judge a book by its cover. But that's exactly what we do in this world. We judge everything by the outside of what we see, right? Whether it's color, whether it's creed, whether it's the idea of how somebody looks, whether they're pretty, ugly, it's all subjective. But when it comes to our ideas of representation of religion, spirituality, occultism, and so on and so forth, we have symbolism for a reason. It attracts people. For instance, I see the tattoos on your hands. Nick has the same goddamn tattoo. So I understand that both of you guys are understandable on the knowledge of occultism because you represented that as your temple. Your body is your temple. You take care of your temple as best as you can.
Same shits. Look at that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know this shit so much, bro. I'm telling you, I'm so visual with shit. It's crazy. I seen the hands. I look at everything. I pay attention. I watch the mannerism. Look at y'all beards. Y'all beards almost goddamn the same. Y'all coat people. Y'all. I'm telling you, the knowledge that's out there. You don't have to read a book to understand something. All you got to do is look at somebody and take that initial representation of what that person is trying to show you, and take that. And understand what these visual understandings of these people from the past. We can't take our shoes off today and understand what people thought 3,000 years ago. All we can look at is their symbolism and understand solely what they thought based off of their symbolism. And I'm not sure if that made sense or not, but I think that we don't need words to convey our message. We just need to understand on a two-party system, understanding what we know.
Do you have places you still want to go, Mike, that you've never been?
Oh yeah, I can't believe I so I still haven't been to Greece, which is crazy.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy. I haven't been to Greece, right? And then India.
India's wild, man.
And then I was.
If you could do drone work at the Oracle at Delphi, that would be amazing because they have this great broken temple there. That's just, it would be awesome on a 360 shot. I just haven't seen that yet.
I'll give it a shot. I generally ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Absolutely.
With the drone flying, but the other place that I'm trying to get to is in Russia. There's several sites over there, and I had it, man. I had a whole trip booked. I was going to Russia, and then everything popped off in the Ukraine, and they hit Russia with all the sanctions, which would have made it really hard for me. I didn't have any connections at the time to get up because of the sanctions. I couldn't have used any of my cards or anything. I'd had to carry money around with me. Yeah. For the whole trip, right? That just was crazy, right? If anything happened to my money or I got robbed or anything, I wouldn't be able to get more money, and I'd just be stuck wherever I was at. And I was going way out in the middle of Siberia, and so now I have some contacts over there. I'm working on that again, and so I'd really like to get over there. The good thing that came out of me not being able to get over there when all that happened was I was looking for another place to visit and stumbled across the Sage Wall, and that's how I ended up going to the Sage Wall. So that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. That's been going on that long.
So, like in America, you brought up that we need to explore more. Obviously, we've got tons of like mounds and places like with the Cahokian civilization and whatnot, but what are some things that stand out that you think people should go look at?
Here's the real issue with exploring America. I don't think people realize how much of America is basically off limits.
Yeah.
It's federal land that you
have. That's why I don't want people to look at it.
Exactly. And so basically it's my theory that if you take a map and you go look at all the federally protected land that was set aside way back in the day, years ago, that all that area is where you're going to find all the treats.
Yeah.
That means breaking rules.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a lot of these places are probably being surveilled or something if there's something out there that's being hidden. But that would be, I've been, somebody brought up the Grand Canyon and different stuff before, and I've wanted to go do that for years, just sneak off over there and
do it, bro.
That spot, I've been in the Grand Canyon and I stayed down inside of it before. It's massive. And Yeah, that would be quite the adventure, right? But yeah, these places. I think that's where you're going to find the new discoveries in America. Is basically on these um, federal land that's been set aside and is off limits. Just huge portions of the country off limits to the public.
For sure.
I'm so glad that you're. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say it's so sad because we see over and over again that otherworldly objects and places get treated with otherworldly irresponsibility.
Mm.
So, like the Anasazi, for instance, like they've just been messing with that site out there for so long. And so much of the artifacts have been lost because of their tinkering and their constant refusal to actually let the qualified people in. And it's ridiculous. Like we need better management. And I think the more pressure we put on these people, the better management we can get.
I agree with you, Headless. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said, I visit the Americas to go to different locations, museum, historical parts. I have an app on my phone when I'm traveling that actually brings up historical markers of places that's nearby. So I actually have a Rumble account that actually pertains to that. I just started it maybe a month and a half ago, where I actually do videos of me visiting different museums and different places and stuff like that around the Americas. And I can tell you that there's a lot of history out here. And I just recently, like I said, I have an app on my phone that tells me all the historical markers in the Americas. And if you look on the East Coast, and I'm fortunate to live on the East Coast, there is a lot of history on the East Coast, especially in Savannah, Georgia. I live near Savannah, Georgia. And I can tell you that there's a lot of history from Bigfoot to cryptids to paranormal to historical to Native American to so much stuff. And I visit these places. And I was always so fascinated. A lot of people are fascinated with Egypt. I'm not fascinated with Egypt. I feel like the pyramids in Egypt are just a pile of rocks. It doesn't take too much knowledge to pull up that. And anybody that wants to argue with me, we can go on my channel and argue that. I bring the facts to the table on that. But when you look at places like Mesoamerica and Peru and so on, the aesthetics of their buildings and their megalithic sites are beautiful. Nothing like Egypt. Yeah, you got the hieroglyphs and all this other stuff. You got the triangle. Who can make a triangle? Anybody can make a triangle. But you have the aesthetics of Mexico and Peru and all these Central American places with these pyramids. And it's so beautiful to the point that they took the time to actually vividly share what they felt. Okay, like on some of the pyramids where you could see the snake going down the stairs during certain times of the sun and so on and so forth. So I feel like there's more.
That one's not real.
That's not real?
No.
Please tell me about that, because I've been seeing so many people talk about that. Please not give me knowledge. I'm ignorant on that part. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to go there, to see that for myself.
Don't get me wrong. So that's Chichen Itza, and Chichen Itza is amazing. I've been there like a handful of times, a bunch of times. I love it there, but Chichen Itza is like one of the examples of a completely redone site that's been turned into like basically a tourist site. You have a restaurant on site. It's a full store and shopping area. And back when they were reconstructing it, the way they were rebuilding it, there was like I think he was a lawyer, and he noticed the shadow coming down from them reconstructing the site. And so he started talking about it. And the archaeologists apparently at the time were like, whatever to that. But he wrote a book and he started putting a whole bunch of stuff out to drum up business, basically. And they reconstructed it the way it is. I mean, the outside of Chichen Itza is concrete. Do we know for sure that was built into the design of the pyramid? We don't, which sucks. And look, this is one of the things that I was talking about that was been really hard for me this year, is seeing the way the sausage is made. It's like it's been a rough year for me in terms of staying motivated.
What, you didn't like the intestines used for the sausages meat, bro?
It's hard to look at some of that, right? Yeah. And when you start seeing some of this stuff, you feel a little bit discouraged. It's almost like it's almost like you got cheated on or something. Your heart drops out of your chest, right? Or it's like because what happens is all these places that I've been to where I've had these amazing experiences, I've had to go back in my head and re-question and like re-examine not just what I was seeing, but the whole experience and how it made me feel. Was this real? And so now I've got to what I decided I need to do is just go back to every place and look at them with new eyes, Yeah.
I have another question for you. Giorgio Tsoukalos, you know who that is from Ancient Aliens. This individual, he said that Pumapuco is the place that is considered where Ancient Aliens actually built that place. What do you think about that, or have you heard about that?
Yeah, I mean, Ancient Aliens is basically, was the forerunner for all of this. I mean, before people were making content on their own and dropping it on YouTube, there was Ancient Aliens. I mean, I think most of the people that are doing what I do were watching Ancient Aliens at a certain point, right? And hearing about places that we had no idea even existed. I don't personally go down the alien path of there was some kind of help or aliens built sites or that they were helping humans. I think that humans are incredibly inventive and resourceful and fully capable of doing and pulling off and building the structures that we see around the world. All of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. And by the way, I just want to say real quick, I don't knock I think that every idea should be explored to its fullest. I think we're all just pulled in the direction that resonates with us. And for me, what resonates with me is what I just shared. And for others, it's that other way. So for those that want to pursue that line of thought, I think it's still important. And I think it contributes to the overall discussion. But yeah, that wouldn't be my foundational, theory for sites, any sites.
Right. And it's interesting because, I read a lot of books. I actually have the Ancient Aliens book, believe it or not. I actually have the book from Kevin Burns. I read a lot of books. And it's just interesting that everybody has their own theories and so on and so forth. Giorgio Tsoukalos been to these places, just like you've been to these places. I always say you can have two people with a PhD that went to the same class, to the same classroom, to the same teacher, to the same subject, to the goddamn same curriculum, and have different ideas. When they have different ideas, how do you choose which one is right over the other when there's two PhD representatives that's saying what they're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a way to boil things down to absolute truth. And until you get to that point, you're working theories and ideas. And so kind of like I was just talking about the Ancient Aliens and different stuff and those differing perspectives from mine. That's why I feel like all perspective, I think the best thing anybody can do is not really compare themselves to somebody else. Is just do your own work, right? Let that contribute to the conversation and the knowledge. Because generally, what I've found is truth stands on its own. It doesn't need to be. It lasts in the fire. And everything else kind of burns away, right? So.
Yeah, when you share their origins and the basics, you can't argue that. You know what I'm saying? What is a god? Well, you have to define what a god is. What is a civilization? You have to define what a civilization is. What is advanced technology? You have to define the advanced technology. Anybody can take those words that I just took and create their own narrative based off their own understanding and their own knowledge of what they learned. And that's why I think everybody's important when they share their knowledge, because I've been following you a while, and I've noticed that you're an individual who asks questions, and you're not asking questions based off of your belief. You're asking questions for clarity. And I would like for you to clarify that for me, and help me understand, is that true? Are you trying to ask these questions for clarity, or are you asking these questions to get a better idea of what kind of narrative you're trying to share?
I don't want to share a narrative.
And that's why I respect you, and I'm glad you said that up front, because you don't share a narrative. You have never shared a narrative.
I ultimately, what I want to do is inspire people to ask their own questions. I want my hope is that by traveling around the world and documenting sites, is that it'll inspire people to ask questions beyond what they've learned and what they think they know. Because I'm less concerned with the destination as I am the journey. I don't need an answer like some people do to everything. There's a joy in my life, in the process and in the journey, and asking questions and learning is growing. But I'm not trying to convince anybody of some theory of mine, or, and I have my thoughts and my beliefs, and I'll share them, but I'm not trying to push some like narrative or agenda to like I'm right or I know something. I'm just a guy traveling around the world, filming sites and sharing it with people in the hopes that it gets them excited and gets people asking questions themselves, to the point even so much so that they start doing their own work and asking their own questions and making their own content. I've talked to a bunch of people that after we've hung out have started making their own content, and I'm so happy for that. I don't think that the world or any of this is a competition.
Right.
It's a big
There's
world.
enough for everybody.
There's more than enough space for everyone. Yeah.
Well, that's what I think a lot of this new media can do, is just spark imaginations, because you can actually show, the details and zoom out and show people the magnificence of these places. And all those questions are just going to pop up in their heads all on their own.
Yeah, like I'm a veteran too, as well, Mike. I see you got me, you, and Tyrone. I struggled with my transition bad, and I transitioned twice, out of the Marines and then out of the Army too. I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah, I like crayons, Nick.
I was like, was you going from man to woman, woman to man? Okay, back to normal.
So does like your military background influence how you approach exploration and research, or is this just like the mission after the mission? Like I know that was my big thing with transition. I had to find purpose. Yeah, it's part of the reason I do this.
The military is interesting because it takes aimless, purposeless people, and it gives you a reason. It gives you a purpose, right?
Yeah.
And everything's very simple and very clear. Show up on time, have your shit, be ready to go. And it's depending on what you're doing, right? I was in the infantry, so it was real easy. It was,
Same.
So when I got out, I couldn't get a job anywhere. I live in Austin, Texas. It's a very liberal city, so nobody gave a shit that I served my country. I went up to East Texas, visited some family up there, and I thought I'd try to get just see. Every place that I went in, and as soon as I mentioned I was a veteran, they're like, when can you start? So it's like, it's really hard to transition from that into regular life where I was at. I was waking up every day still at like 4:30 a.m. or 5 a.m. and just sitting there. I didn't know what to do. But I also never, the military was very key for me. I came from a broken home and a bad childhood and blah, 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 right? Like I had no discipline. I was, troublemaker getting in trouble, right? And it gave me a lot of things that I needed, like a sense of responsibility and accountability and all sorts of stuff, right? That I was really lacking and I needed when I got out. But when I got out, I never defined myself as like the military was who I was. So, but I still didn't have a purpose for a long time until I started doing what I was doing. So it was another, 12 to 15 years almost of just wandering aimlessly and working jobs that I didn't like and getting fucked up because I didn't know what to do with my life, right? And just just being aimless and purposeless. So, but having a purpose and having goals is so important. And even when you get into doing stuff like this, if you're going to do work or if you're going to do, like research into things, it's good to have a goal or set yourself an objective for that type of stuff, whether, the type of content that you're ingesting, the type of books that you're reading, what you're watching and engaging with on social media. These are things that shape that. These daily decisions are all little things that shape who you are. And it really is, if you guys ever played like RPGs, games or anything, it's been years since I've played video games.
Used to.
Man, I still play the PS5 and PC, bro.
The world
I still
is
play
that.
video games.
The world is literally that.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2, matter of fact.
Create your own character. You just have to put time and energy into the things that you want to be good at, just like you have to do on an RPG game.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
so funny you said that, because now they have where you can take your phone and take a picture or a scan of your face, and you can literally be implemented in the video game. You can see your face. I have NBA 2K6 right now, NBA 2K6 on my computer. I am able to get on that game, and you will see my face on that game, because they have got.
You got the cowboy hat?
Yeah, you can scan your whole fucking face, bro.
That's so cool.
I went outside the day that game came out. I went outside in my front yard where it's nice and bright, and I scanned my whole face, and literally, and I actually, in the next few weeks when I build my character up, I'm gonna start streaming me playing NBA 2K6 on here and sharing ancient knowledge at the same time, because it's gotten to the point. When can we decide what is reality and what is virtual reality?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever looked at the individuals that play games in 2025? There are people right now who are quadriplegic, and I hope I said that word correctly, which they can't use their arms and their legs, but they have a modified controller that you can use on your mouth and play a fucking video game. Yo, I've seen people play Call of Duty, Battlefield, and all
What do you think
this
Stephen Hawking was doing, man?
Bro, he probably built the shit.
He was using his eyes.
Michael, real quick before we wrap it up, would you like to remind everybody where your next event's going to be at, please?
Absolutely, yeah. Scottsdale, we're having a big event, conference in Scottsdale, December 5th through the 7th. It's going to be awesome. I'll be there speaking. Our headliners, we've got AJ from the Y-Files, Jimmy Corsetti from Bright Insight, David Hatcher Childress, everybody knows from Ancient Aliens, Gary Buechler, Nerdrotic,
Jimmy Corsetti,
and Hugh Newman is going to be there. Everybody's speaking. These are all our speakers. So and the list goes on. It's going to be a big event, big venue. You can get your tickets now. I was just saying earlier, you can get tickets these are limited. There's a limited amount of seats for $250 for all 3 days. And so you can get those. It's a killer smoking deal. $250 for 3-day conference with all of these speakers. And we're doing it a little different too. If you can't make it to the event, you can get the live stream for $100. And most events have always done it to where it's like they're filming the speakers and then there's dead air and then this next speaker, right? But the whole Forbidden Frontier crew is going to be manning the live stream. So in between speakers, we'll be doing mini interviews with YouTubers and channels. And so it's going to run more like a like watching the NBA finals or the Olympics or something. There's always going to be something going on screen for the live stream. So you can watch that at home for $100, or you can come in person and hang out with everybody for $250. It's a great deal.
It's awesome. Nice. Definitely check that out. And I'll include a link for that. If there was, whatever for that, I'll include that in the show notes as well. Is there anything else on your own for your own work that you want to remind people, your YouTube?
Yeah. Go to WanderingWolfProductions.com. I've got a book dropping in like a month or two before the end of the year, and then I'll be my Egypt tour is next month. It's sold out, but I'll be launching another tour probably in the next week or so to Japan. That's going to be sick. So we're hitting all the megalithic sites in Japan, and then our nightlife is going to be crazy awesome in Osaka and Tokyo and places like that. It's going to be an awesome trip, and it's priced. I was really focused on getting this to be a reasonable price for a Japan tour. It's under $4. It's $39.95 for a full week in Japan, hitting all these megalithic sites and more. So you'll have some cultural experiences and all sorts of stuff like that too. But I'll be dropping that. In fact, I think it's actually live. You can buy those tickets. I just haven't put it on my website yet, but it's actually live. But we're building pre-tour and post-tour add-ons too for things like a spa weekend after, and like a comic book manga themed add-on too for 3 days and stuff that people will be like, because we're doing it with Nerdrotics, and so their crowd is we super love all that. But that's gonna be a good one. Yeah. Awesome. I should get that up on my website immediately, actually.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah.
All right. I'll definitely include all that stuff in the bottom. Yeah. And thank you, everybody in the chat. That's what's up. There was a lot of people here from the beginning to the end. A lot of, unfortunately, there was questions in there I was going to ask and totally forgot. My apologies. But I appreciate you all. And that is the end of another Occult Rejects. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.